My name is Jack Lavin. I'm President and CEO of the Chicagoland Chamber of Commerce. I want to welcome everybody here today. This is the Exchange 2018. We've got a great evening of networking and business showcasing ahead of us. I'm excited to be here. This is my first time here as CEO of the Chicagoland Chamber for the Exchange. We've got a fantastic panel of industry and thought leaders who will share insights on Chicago's cultural and entertainment industries that help drive our region's economy and will help us keep growing this segment of our economy. The business of culture and entertainment creates jobs and economic development, but just as important, it makes Chicagoland the greatest city to live and work. It helps us attract new companies and talent. I think that it is a key reason companies like Amazon are considering putting HQ2 here, or Apple may make a significant expansion here. There is strong confidence in the Chicagoland economy right now, and this segment plays a key and growing role in our success. I'd like to take a moment to thank some of the partners who played a huge role in making this event possible tonight. First, our platinum sponsor of the 2018 Exchange is Wintrust. The firm's president and CEO, Ed Wehmer, is among our panelists here. When you buy the naming rights to a basketball venue like Wintrust Arena, you clearly understand the scope and value of the business of entertainment. Ed, in addition to hosting us in your firm's namesake venue, we thank you for your sponsorship of the Exchange and your support of the Chicagoland Chamber. Wintrust and Ed Wehmer are also key supporters of our Small Business Chicago program at the Chamber. Thank you, Ed and Wintrust. Let's give Ed a round of applause. Comcast Spotlight is the exclusive sponsor of this panel discussion. Comcast Spotlight is doing amazing things to help Chicago region businesses reach audiences through targeted video advertising. And ABC 7 Chicago is our panel media partner. We're excited to have Ryan Chiaverini, host of the great ABC show Windy City Live, serve as the moderator of our panel. But before we start our panel, I'd also like to welcome to the podium Anthony Arbusius, Director of Sales at Comcast Spotlight, the sponsor of the Exchange panel discussion, to say a few words. Anthony?
Thank you so much. My name's Anthony Arbusius. I'm the Director of Sales at Comcast Spotlight. On behalf of everyone at Comcast, we're thrilled to sponsor today's discussion and really want to thank the Chamber for your leadership on driving a dynamic economy. I think today's event is really a great example of the Chamber's work. Entertainment and culture is something we all connect around. At Comcast, that is centric to our business. The neat thing is, when we find those things that Chicagoland wants to connect with, we connect them with the content and we connect businesses with the consumer. So this content is anything from The Walking Dead to the Cubs to The Real Housewives, of all things. But it's what people enjoy and like. And not that long ago, we could just focus on putting a commercial or a message in a specific geography during a certain time of day. But today's business economy requires such more information than that. So we have to be smarter and more efficient. We took that challenge seriously. We're leading the industry with advanced analytics and dynamics. We know it's about video on any screen. That's our wheelhouse. So again, thank you. We're thrilled to be here, and thanks for participating.
Thanks, Anthony. I also want to thank all the Chicagoland Chamber staff members who worked very hard for many months to put this multifaceted event together. Mary Ann Floriano, who led the team, and all the Chamber staff, please raise your hands and let's acknowledge them with a round of applause. Great. Well, let's take a close look now at the business of entertainment and culture in Chicago in 2017. Bon Appetit magazine named Chicago the Restaurant City of the Year. The Financial Times called Chicago perhaps the most architecturally aware city on earth. And citing our architecture, culinary scene, and stand-up comedy venues, Condé Nast Travel gave Chicago the largest award, calling it the best big city. And here's one more piece of information. In 2014, Mayor Rahm Emanuel said he wanted to attract 55 million visitors to Chicago by the year 2020. Turns out we hit this goal 2 years early with 55.2 million visitors and travelers in 2017. That was an all-time record for our city. This afternoon, as I've said, we've gathered leaders of Chicago's cultural and entertainment industry. All have great success stories to tell about the business of entertainment and culture, and I'm looking forward to an exciting and interesting panel discussion. Our panel really needs no introduction, but our panelists today include Marilynn Gardner, President and CEO of Navy Pier. Marilynn is spearheading the successful transformation of the Pier to an international cultural destination. Navy Pier is the largest tourism attraction in the state of Illinois and was a big part of getting over 55 million travelers to the city of Chicago and the state of Illinois. Marilynn Gardner, let's give her a round of applause. Mark Kelly, the City of Chicago Commissioner of Cultural Affairs and Special Events, who is extending the cultural offerings beyond downtown, but also a key part of getting all these tourists and travelers here. Mark Kelly, Commissioner. Alex Pissios, President of Cinespace Chicago Film Studios. Cinespace, for those just learning about it, occupies 1.5 million square feet of space near 16th and California. They bought some land that used to be the Ryerson Steel, so they've changed it into a film studio, transferred it to an economic asset. The studio space includes 30 soundproof stages. Its most recent credits include Chicago Fire, Chicago PD, The Empire, and Showtime's The Chi. Film and TV production in Illinois has hit all-time records, in large part due to the efforts of Alex and Cinespace, a great economic development success story. Alex Pissios. And Ed Wehmer, the President and CEO of Wintrust Financial. Ed's support of sporting and cultural industry through sponsorship shows firsthand the benefit it brings to Chicago. Ed Wehmer. And finally, our panel moderator is Ryan Chiaverini of ABC 7's Windy City Live. I miss Ryan on ABC 7 Sports, but I love him on Windy City Live. So Ryan Chiaverini, we're honored to have all of you here. And Ryan, I toss it to you to get everything going. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Jack. We have a live audience at Windy City Live, so this is actually kind of nice. We're not giving away any cars, unfortunately, today. But it's so nice to be here with the Chicagoland Chamber. It's quite an honor. It's a very important thing for ABC 7 to be a media partner. It's nice to join this esteemed panel and all of you business leaders. If you have any questions, take a note, and at the end, we're going to have some time so you can ask our panel. But to quickly build off of Jack's remarks about the economic impact of entertainment and culture, some interesting highlights I want to cover about a brand new study about the culture piece of this, specifically about art. Now, this is from a report released last week by the Chicago Loop Alliance, and it said that art institutions and public art facilities in Chicago's Loop generates $2.25 billion for our local economy. Think about that number for a minute. That includes the spending by art facilities to run their operations, their staffs, and of course the visitor spending when it comes to tickets, hotels, meals, and the shopping. And then the job creation, an incredible number as well. Art institutions in the Loop, directly or indirectly, help employ 15,000 employees full-time. And arts in the Loop generate $61 million in tax revenue each year. In total, 7.3 million visitors attend Loop art institutions each year. That is more than the number of fans that go see the Big Four of our major sports teams combined. I'm talking the Blackhawks, the Bears, you get it. And of course, this is not a competition between culture and entertainment, but really we benefit from both of them. So with that in mind, we're going to start the panel discussion. Mark, I want to start my first question to you. What criteria do you use in determining whether an event or other initiative makes sense in Chicago and how much economic impact it would have?
Well, the criteria is twofold. One is arts and culture. Is it bringing joy to our citizens? It's always the artistry itself. And so we manage, the Department of Cultural Affairs and Special Events, we manage all the events in Millennium Park and the Cultural Center, many of the festivals around the city, our audience is literally 25 million for our events, which is a stunning number. So we've established 60 with an audience of 25 million. So that's Taste of Chicago and Blues Fest and Jazz Fest. The bottom line for us, for the city, are these great events, culturally rich, that bring value to our citizens and attract tourists. But that in turn has a huge economic impact. So you were just capturing the first ever study of the economic impact of arts and culture in the city. And the Chicago Loop Alliance, when they commissioned it, their thought was, I think arts and culture has something to do with the life of downtown. You take arts and culture out of downtown and we're Kansas City. We're Indianapolis. I'm not to pick on those cities, but the vitality of the city.
Yes, you are.
Maybe I am. The vitality of the city is centered in the arts and culture that is so strong here. So think about this, 250 theater companies, professional theater companies in Chicago. There's not another city in the country. There's not another city in the country, even in New York, that has such a depth of theater talent. 200 dance companies, 70 museums, 70 comedy clubs in Chicago, right? It's, I believe in Manhattan there's 10. So all of this adds to that vitality, and then it's the play of the two. It's the artistry has to be there. Arts and culture has to be driven by great artists doing significant work. But then that attracts patrons, it brings people to restaurants, it fills our hotels, and it makes Chicago such a fascinating, lively place.
By the way, I mentioned earlier about the number of visitors that attend art institutions over our sporting events. We don't play baseball in Chicago anymore, but we're going to eventually get back to that for you Cubs fans out there. Marilynn, I want to turn to you because all of us have been to Navy Pier. All of us are excited about what is going on. I want to get more on what exactly you're doing over there. I know it's $300 million being poured into Navy Pier. What are some of the objectives and maybe some of the difficulties in the transformation?
Difficulties?
Are there any?
Absolutely not. So we are in the process of transforming Navy Pier, which we all have known and loved and grown up visiting Navy Pier over the years. But Navy Pier became a place where, I'll be honest, it might have been a place in recent years where we dropped off our in-town guest and said, I'll pick you up when you're done. I'll be back. Rather than embracing it as our own. So we are undergoing a major redevelopment at Navy Pier, and our goal is to transform Navy Pier into a truly great civic space and a resource for the community. And building on some of the things Mark was saying, we see the importance of arts and culture. So not only have we undergone a massive physical redevelopment, so we've created better open, welcoming spaces and really now celebrate the incredible, unique location of the pier. We've opened up the vistas and really made it a more engaging space. But what's truly special about Navy Pier now is the way it's coming to life with programs, with unique partnerships that we've been able to forge. So it's what's happening in that space that truly is transforming it into a place where it's become a platform to showcase what's truly best in Chicago. So there are hundreds of emerging and established arts and cultural organizations with whom we're able to work to allow them to come to the pier to make arts and culture accessible to the public, free and accessible. Last year alone, we hosted 250 free programs that really have engaged the community. And this is just the beginning. And we're seeing that by doing this, this is what people are really hungry for. And we've had great public art installations that are interactive that are now driving people to the pier in the winter months as well. So again, it's creating a civic space that's a resource for our community and it's about the exposure and the accessibility. It's the people's pier, and we truly embrace that and hope to continue to grow in that effort.
All right, Alex, I want to turn to you and talk about Cinespace. I've been there. It is amazing, and it's been a huge benefit, by the way, for Windy City Live, because a lot of shows being shot there helps us book guests. But it's an exciting time for our city. It's huge for the economy, and it's a big reason why Chicago does have a TV economy right now. Tell me how Cinespace got started. I know it's kind of a fascinating story.
Yeah. So Cinespace I'm born and raised in Chicago, and so I wanted to do so. I had a family in Toronto that owns Cinespace that's been around for 30 years. So in 2007, I was in the real estate business, which was not a good year to be in the real estate business. And so that did not go well.
Did something happen?
Yeah, something happened. Yeah, a little bit of a real estate doom and gloom, And so I was in a position that I had to do something different, So I found Ryerson. I talked to my uncle who was running Toronto Cinespace, and he told me to look for something with big depth, big height, and we can possibly build stages in Chicago. So we found Ryerson Steel. We originally were just going to buy one building. We ended up buying them all because the shows just kept calling and coming. So we developed them. Chicago at that time had a very weak infrastructure. They did not have many lighting or camera companies. They were not producing anything locally here. So what we did was, besides developing the 30 sound stages, which makes us the second largest film studio operator in the country, Universal has 31, we brought in companies like Keslow Camera, Cinelease Lighting, Draw 321, which is an animation company, casting companies, and two post-production companies, Periscope and BAM. So we've actually made it into like a mini Hollywood there. So the studios know when they come to Chicago now, we have everything for them. Along with that, we've been able to partner with DePaul University. DePaul University is actually the only film school that has an actual footprint on an actual studio lot. So when they opened up 4 years ago, I believe they were ranked somewhere around 200 in the country, their film and media school, and now it's somewhere in the top 25. And they're also moving their whole master's program by us for next year. So partnerships with education has really been a big part of the growth at Cinespace. And then I really saw that there was a need for local people to produce locally. So we started an incubator called Stage 18, which consists of local directors, producers. There's a finance company there called Chicago Media Angels now. There's insurance companies, there's a lawyer. And this is where people can actually come together, congregate, and develop stuff. In 2017, we actually financed $2.5 million worth of local productions. So that's kind of that's when this thing will really be a success. In Toronto, when my uncle started 30 years ago, 100% of his business was Los Angeles business. Now it's Cinespace in Toronto. It's 50% LA, 50% Ontario. So that's exactly what my goal is here to do in Chicago, is to keep, building more of the local people here to produce more stuff, and then we can shoot it here and kind of find that if this was 1980, you'd have John Hughes would have an office by me, Harold Ramis, to produce stuff locally here.
Right. And what are some of the biggest films that have been shot at Cinespace?
We've had a lot.
Transformers.
Yeah, Transformers. Superman, Batman did some stuff by us. Divergent. And we're doing, with Netflix and Hulu and Amazon, our business model now, I have a Netflix show coming in. I've had 2 Amazon shows. In 2016, I believe the number was 160 shows were scripted for television. In 2018, it's over 500. So there's a big demand with content. There just isn't enough stuff out there. When we were younger, or at least, everyone on this panel, when we were younger, you'd watch a TV show, and if it was Dukes of Hazzard, you wait every Friday at 8 o'clock for 10 months to watch it. Well, our generation, my 14-year-old watches Dukes of Hazzard season 1 through 6 over the weekend. So now they're waiting for more content.
That's all they do.
Yeah. So yeah, you can do that. So that's what's happening. This new generation is just, they cannot absorb enough content. So that's why you're seeing so much more growing. And there's really, Jim Giannopoulos, who's the president of Paramount, is a family friend of ours, really said you're going to see the second coming of the golden age of television, and you see it coming now.
Alex is guaranteed to get a speaking role in everything shot at Cinespace, so look for him. All right, Ed, I want to turn to you. The list of initiatives that Wintrust is a part of in the world of entertainment and culture is a long one, from sports to the Chicago Garden Show to Chicago Gourmet. You also support 2112, which is a creative arts incubator on the Northwest Side. What do you see in these things that align with your business?
Well, first of all, my name and culture will never really put together that much. Alex told me I had a tryout for Chicago PD. That's the only reason I'm here.
He was playing a convict.
No, you're
Yeah.
the convict. He's the convict.
I always get typecasted. I don't get it. To understand our involvement with all of these enterprises, you really have to understand a little bit about Wintrust. Kind of a name that showed up over the last 5 years that really had never been seen before. 26 and a half years ago, I quit my job at a card table, came up with an idea to start a little community bank. I wanted to be Jimmy Stewart, and It's a Wonderful Life. All the big banks had bought all the little banks, and community banking had kind of left. So that was the idea. We opened up in 1,100 square feet in 1991, and it worked, and it kept going and going. The whole community concept of giving back to the community, if it's good for the community, it's good for us. And so we were involved in all, I made floats and that sort of thing from that level, but we kept growing and growing and getting bigger and bigger. We thrived during the downturn. We went into rope-a-dope about 2 years. I call rope-a-dope after Muhammad Ali. We had grown. We were the fastest growing banking group, I think, in the country, but we stopped. I'd seen that movie before and knew it was coming. So we waited. We called it rope-a-dope after Muhammad Ali when he fought George Foreman. And he went like this for 2 rounds, then came out and won the fight. During that time, we said, Chicago is such a great town. It's the 14th biggest economy in the world. It's got everything going for it. It doesn't have its own bank. Why not us? You got 2 banks from Canada. You got a bank from Pittsburgh. You got 2 from New York. There's really no Chicago bank. Let's make a run at it. So we put all the plumbing in during those 2 years, and then we had to figure out how are we going to get the Wintrust name out. Because we never sold. We never wanted anybody to think we were a big bank. We were the local alternative to big banks, but now we're a big bank. So and you wonder how we came up with the Wintrust name at the beginning? We threw a dart at a book, because and it came up, Wintrust. Yeah, that's a cool name, we'll use that. A true story. But now we had to sell the name, and we had to come across as having the capabilities of a big bank, but being a community bank. And to do that, we needed to align ourselves in the same spirit of community banking, to give back to the community and to align ourselves with all of the really iconic brands in Chicago. The Cubs being one, DePaul University here being one, the White Sox, the Mackinac Race, the Garden Show, all the way down to the arts, the Young Shakespeare. We do the debate commissions. We sponsor all those because what's good for the community is good for us. And that's how we really got our brand out at the same time. So we actually walk the walk, don't just talk the talk. As I said, what's good for Chicago is good for us. So we're going to have to give back as we do in the smaller local communities. We need to give back in Chicago, and that's how we've aligned ourselves.
How big is it to have your name on this arena?
It's pretty cool. I walk in here. I walk in Wrigley Field. I walk in whatever it's Guaranteed Rate Park down. It was very close to be called Comiskey Park, presented by Wintrust, but missed it by a day. But I just start laughing. I go, how the heck did we end up here, We're a bunch of knuckleheads just trying to carve out a living. And I say, we really are in the cool places going. But this is remarkable for us to have this venue. And it's, this venue and Wrigley, they all support the arts with their concerts and the things that they're doing. What's going on in this neighborhood, the revitalization of the neighborhood, connecting it with Chinatown, is going to do nothing but spur more economic growth and more jobs for the city.
The best part when you come to a DePaul game, no ATM fees when you're here.
That's right.
You got that. All right, I'm going to ask a question. Anybody on the panel can answer this, so just feel free to jump in. I want to talk to you about the Art on the Mart. This is a project that's in development right now. It's an $8 million project over the next number of years. And basically, it's going to display with digital projectors art on the south-facing wall of the Mart. And so how does something like this happen? And how does this benefit the city's people and the businesses? Is there a benefit there?
Is there a benefit? It's going to be as iconic, I think, as the Picasso and the Bean. I've had the honor of playing a principal role along with the mayor in moving this forward. But I'd sort of reframe the question, why is Vornado spending $8 million on a projection system? It'll be $500,000 a year to run it. And there's no branding, no sponsorships, no broadcasting. It's only for art. And I think I can speak for them. They're doing it because it'll bring such great value to the city. This iconic new wall, imagine 2.6 acres facing the Riverwalk on this stately building, but now it's filled with giant art projections in the nighttime, 5 days a week, 10 months a year. We have a curatorial team that will be selecting the work. So it's really creating a new art form in front of us. It doesn't exist anywhere else in the world. And for Vornado, they're going to illuminate what goes on in that building. As they become a tech center, what goes on in the building comes to life, but not through traditional marketing, but by offering their support for the artists of the city and beyond. I think it'll be hugely impactful. And it tells a story about how businesses can rethink the role they have with art and culture, that it doesn't have to be just sponsorship. It can play a more direct role, and I believe the value that it's going to bring back to Vornado will be tremendous. But then the value to the city, I think every evening people will be lining up for the next display of powerful work that is projected onto that wall.
Along those lines, I want to talk to you about public art, if someone wants to take this one. It's said to generate $250 million in economic spending per year. What are your thoughts about public art and how it's different than distinct art? Institutions. We have so many great art institutions. How does public art benefit on that side?
Well, I'll shut up after this. I answer this, but as I led Mayor Emanuel's Year of Public Art last year, and it was reminding the city we have one of the greatest collections of public art in the world. So the Bean, who would have imagined that the $500 million investment in Millennium Park? Does everyone remember all the headlines before it opened? Like what a boondoggle this was, what a disaster it was. And then this park opens, and its economic impact is on real estate, on just it's so many different ways. But the Bean is this magnet. 20 million people visit the Bean every day. There's thousands and thousands of people, and it's public art. It's an entire park of public art. But then it's the city in public art. It's everywhere in the city. And in the Year of Public Art, we commissioned work in every neighborhood in the city. So our goal is not just public art in the Central District. And by the way, that CLA study, they were shocked to learn that thousands of people are coming into the Loop each day simply for the public art, simply for art that's in the public realm. It's not inside a building. It's not in a museum. It's just living in this space where you can take it in, you can make sense of it as you wish, and then I think that becomes an idea of what is the future of the city, that we don't have art just simply be in frames or on walls or in museums or on stages, but that we so value arts and culture in the city that it's everywhere, and you feel it, you see it, you can touch it on the street.
All right, we're going to move on to the next question. I want to ask each one of you if you can name one big project that's in some stage of development for the future that you think will have a material impact on the city.
So Cinespace, we just purchased an additional almost 300,000 square foot old steel mill on 31st and Kedzie that we're actually transforming into more stages. So that's what we're excited about. So we're going to probably develop another 6 stages. Which actually make us then the largest film studio operator in the world. So that's what we're excited about, and we just closed the deal recently.
Think about that for a minute. The largest in the world,
Yep.
right here in Chicago.
Yep.
Wow. That's incredible.
Yeah, it'll
All
be great.
Marilynn?
Sure. Well, at Navy Pier specifically, as I talked about, we are undergoing a massive redevelopment. And in the coming months, actually Memorial Day weekend, we'll be opening close your ears, Ed, the Fifth Third Bank Family Pavilion. And then, right here in Chicago. And the People's Energy Welcome Pavilion in Polk Brothers Park will be coming online this summer as well. And then our hotel is beginning construction after May 1st, as these gentlemen know. So we're looking forward to all those things. But one of the things that, I think I'm thrilled about, and the entire team at the Pier is the perception of the Pier is shifting. And I think we've all seen that, and we're really excited about that. And it's because of all of the great things being done collectively. But, truly, Navy Pier isn't successful without all of these all the great work that these other institutions are doing. When you think about just the collective good that's being done in Chicago and making it a better place for all of us, it's such a livable and visitable city, if that's a word. And I think it's all the great work that's happening and really, making art and entertainment accessible. So, and I think everybody here has a big role in that. So kudos to all, and here's that.
Well, I have two choices here. One is right here. Wintrust Arena, the hotel next door, the new hotel going up across the street. This is really revitalizing the entire new entertainment district for the city. This venue here, plus revitalizing McCormick Place, giving them now additional capacity to call more shows in here, more economy, more people visiting our city and understanding how cool it is. This whole area is going to be redeveloped here. So I think the mayor, DePaul, McPier, I think should be really congratulated. There's on putting this building in here. We were an afterthought. I was told I could get out of purgatory by Father Holschneider if I put my name on this. So knowing what I did in my past, that was important. Till Cardinal
Sister
George.
Jean's popular right now too.
Yeah, she is. Maybe you could do so. I could do something with her. I could sponsor Sister Jean. She's an icon. I like it. The second thing I think is really important is what's going on around Wrigley Field. Same sort of thing. They're making that a year-round venue. They're all with private money. Everybody forget. Every stadium in the world, every redevelopment's been done with state money or what have you. This has been McPier. In this particular venue, it's been really private money, and in Wrigley, it's all private money. Redeveloping an entire area that will bring year-round culture, arts, entertainment to the city. I think you all should thank the Ricketts family. They put up with a lot of grief to do this, but for years and years, we're going to have a wonderful venue for which to continue to advance the efforts of this city. So, pass it on.
Give it to Mark.
Well, we're now talking about not Millennium Park, but the Millennium Campus, and helping everyone see that space in a larger way. So Maggie Daly, the Art Institute, the Cultural Center, and in particular the Cultural Center, probably most of you know the history of it. It was the Chicago Public Library, became the Cultural Center in the 70s, but I live in that building. It's an extraordinary building with some of the most amazing spaces in the city. But it's never had a clear mission or a master plan that went with it. We're bringing in an architectural firm. They're beginning their work next week. And out of it, we'll come forward with that vision and master plan. And what I hope we'll have is a public-private partnership to push that space forward as the epicenter for the cultural landscape of the city, so that every tourist and every school kid in the city comes to the Cultural Center, and then the Cultural Center launches them out into the world of Chicago, the neighborhoods, the public art, the museums, the theater, the dance, and it's already a space that is sort of there, but reimagining it, bringing it to life, pushing it forward, it can play an extraordinary civic role in strengthening the arts and cultural landscape, and at the same time, inspire. We want every kid in Chicago to be inspired by the creative path and the possibilities it offers.
All right, before we open it up for questions, get your creative juices flowing, panel. All right, this one, if you had unlimited funds, all right, you had the political clout, what would be your moonshot idea for a cultural project in Chicago? Everyone's got a dream, right?
I think my name would be Mike Madigan, wouldn't it, if I had all that?
Does anybody have anything?
I mean, well, mine's not, dream. I'm planning on doing it. So, it's a crazy idea, but, so.
I like it.
It's not, usually what I dream comes reality. So what's going to happen on this one is I had great news today, which I'll share at City Council. I've been working 3 years to get approval to actually fence in the 70 acres and make it into a back lot like in Los Angeles. So that got approved today, which is really, like I said, 3 years. So by us closing it off, I'm going to change the facades on the buildings and make actually 4 location looks. One is Chinatown, New York, London, and Main Street, USA. And the idea to do that is twofold. One, the shows then can actually use these as location shooting and actually keep it there on the lot, which saves them a lot of money and grief, because trying to shoot like in Chinatown here is almost impossible. And secondly is to start tourism there in North Lawndale, is they actually give tours then, because Lagunitas, who is a tenant of mine, the brewery, last year gave 400,000 tours to people. So the idea is to fence in the property and make it a tourism attraction.
Well, I have one thing that I think all of us would be interested in seeing happen is, what if arts education was available and accessible to all the youth in our city? We see how important arts and culture and supporting arts and culture is, and how important it is to the economy, like we're talking about today. But if it were available in all the schools and accessible to all of our students, think of how wonderful that would be. And and our mayor is so committed to advancing arts and culture in our city, and I think it would be great if that was something that we all were able to see in our lifetime.
So I'm going to put $1. I want, it's only $500 million. But just to backtrack for a second, so the investment in Millennium Park, Maggie Daley, the Riverwalk, and 606, if you add that all up together, was an investment of $800 million. And then think of the value of that investment economically to the city, to the value of the city, to all those are transformative urban spaces. I want $500 million for a public art fund that is to engage our youth, our artists in creating public art in every neighborhood in our city. So a version of that. The south side of the city, in my mind, is equivalent to Florence in terms of its being an incubator for creative talent. So Mahalia Jackson and Herbie Hancock and Chance and Bo Diddley and Muddy Waters, and the list goes on and on. But we don't see the south side as a creative zone. That's what it is. And I want a massive public artworks taking the same power that you see in Millennium Park and delivering it to every neighborhood in the city, and where public art becomes the way this city marks its space unlike any other city in the world.
I've got to bring the business side back into this because business supports the arts. And last year, I know the mayor is working very hard to get more and more corporations to move their headquarters here, more businesses to move in here, more jobs to move in here. To the extent that we can do that and make Chicago and Illinois a much more business-friendlier state. I mean, we've got everything in this town. You think about it. We've got the best transportation hub in O'Hare. We've got rail. We've got, 5 major highways intersect here. We've got sea. We've got fresh water. We're in the center of the country. We're the 14th biggest economy in the world if you take Milwaukee to Northwest Indiana. This is a great place to do business. If we could clean up, if I had all the money in the world, I'd get rid of the pension problems and we'd be good. But
one thing we don't have spring. Everything else.
Everything else, right. But if you think about it, bringing in more jobs and more corporations to this fine city We'll bring more money into the arts and have a lot of these ideas that these folks have come true. So the corporate America, the people come from New York and they come to Chicago and they say, wow, they're amazed at the amount of support that the people in Chicago and the corporations and the businesses in Chicago provide for not just sports, but for all these cultural issues. The more we get more, we'll have more. I think that's what I would do. So I got to keep it on the business side because.
Gotcha. All right, we're going to open it up for some questions. Thank you to our panel. If you have a question, let's get a, do we need a microphone? And then I'm going to give you this one.
Okay.
There you go.
Sure. We're very excited about the merchandise mart. How are you sourcing the content? What type of content? Is it static or moving, animated? And finally, how often will it be rotated or changed?
Because this has never been done before, we're going to learn on the fly. So the first projections will be in October. There'll be some sort of grand opening. There's going to be some commissioning of the first work. But ultimately, duration, we're going to have to learn the impact on the city. If we find that there's 50,000 people out there, then we have to sort of amend the broadcasting. But the thought is, let's say it's next October, there's 20 minutes of projections, and then maybe it doesn't go dark, but then the building is just illuminated with the possibilities, and then maybe it's rebroadcast. That crowd dissipates, a new crowd assembles every half hour. That's our original thinking. But we have two committees. We have a curatorial committee that will select the work. So the MART, Vornado can only project work that has been selected by the curatorial committee, which is a combination of cultural organizations and artists. DCASE will be part of that. And then we'll have a civic advisory committee because we're going to have to understand the impact of this and how it's going to work with the city to figure out how often it's broadcast. But the general plan is 5 days a week. It's always at dusk. It's always after rush hour because we don't want to create a new problem in the city. And the thought is that it goes dark in January and February. But then the content itself will change because even artists don't quite understand what's being offered to them. They've never been offered the canvas because they can take their work, move it into the system, play with it, and project it. So there's nowhere else in the world where artists have been offered that. You've seen video projection systems like on iconic buildings. If you go to cities, especially in Europe, you'll see it. But the work has been more spectacle-based and not art-based, and this is going to be solely focused. There'll be spectacle, the wall itself is spectacle, but it'll be focused on the work of artists. So we'll see over time as it evolves.
Hi, everyone. Jen Kincaid with Uptown Underground, representing the neighborhood entertainment industries. I'm going to pose a question that I'm not sure can be answered. I just wanted to commend all of you for the amount of public art and free art that is happening right now in the city because it's fantastic. There seems to be a growing trend, though, that art should be free and that people are being pushed more towards free culture, which is great because we need free culture and accessible culture. But what do the smaller institutions do who are still requiring to be paid for their art? I think I and a number of other arts institutions are having difficulty right now in actually paying our artists what they are worth. And specifically in the performance industries, performers are the most underappreciated and underpaid artists out there. And I'm just wondering if anyone has any ideas how we continue to educate the public that art should be paid for, just like sports and other kinds of entertainment should be paid for.
Well, I couldn't agree more with your sentiment. And we have all these free events, but we pay our performers. It's free for the audience. But so we just released today the schedule for Jazz Fest, which, by the way, is going from 4 days to 10 days. and it's going to be awesome, and we're pushing it out into the neighborhoods. It's not just going to be in Millennium Park. But we realized with Jazz Fest, with this free event, we were inadvertently educating an audience to love the form when it's free. And guess what? Guess who loses? The musicians and the clubs don't benefit from that. We have flipped the paradigm for us. The point of Jazz Fest is to strengthen the cultural landscape and the musicians and the clubs. So everything we're doing is to push everyone out into the clubs, to support the musicians. I literally get up at Jazz Fest and harangue the audience that we're giving you this for free, love it, but be inspired by the forum at this free event and go out and spend money. It's your responsibility to do that. So it's a tricky business. People tend to treat the arts and culture as lovely and a frill, and I think at the heart of this argument is it's fundamental to the future of the city, and that artists have to be honored and paid for their effort and work.
We have time for one more question.
Well, and just real quick on that one, our objective too at the Pier, same thing, is we offer just a taste, a sampling, and hope that people are inspired, like Mark said, to then go visit the theaters and the performance venues. And, we're also proud to have other partners on the Pier, such as Chicago Shakespeare Theater, and they're doing a terrific job. They welcome 60,000 young people through their Team Shakespeare program, and Chicago Children's Museum. I think they had 56 free days last year. It's offering that taste to then drive people to the cultural institutions, and we too also pay all of the performers at the Pier. But great question.
Yes, I just have one question. Besides the shows that are pretty regular here in Chicago, PD and Chicago Fire and all that, is there anything new that's coming this year that you're excited to talk about today?
Yeah, I can actually. So Netflix is opening up offices in May for a show called Beats. Okay. We have The Chi is coming back for season 2. HBO is starting a show called Lovecraft, 10 episodes. And pilot season, so what happens for us now, pilot season ended just recently. So there'll be a lot of pickups the week of May 14th. So that's when they pick up and renew. But we have 3 new ones coming in next month. Besides we feel pretty good that the Fire and PD and Med and Empire will come back. And Chi for season 2 starts in May too. Yep. Mm-hmm.
All right, that's going to do it. How about a warm round of applause for our panel? Mark Kelly, Alex Pissios, Marilynn Gardner, Ed Wehmer. That's it for us. Enjoy the Exchange 2018. Thank you.